Can you hear me?
Yeah. All right, guys. Coach is here. We'll let him make a statement, and he'll take your questions.
I don't have anything to say, so let's fire away with some questions, guys.
Coach, just talk about how frustrating this news is. Obviously, to have to pause your program given everything going on.
Well, I think we probably expected it at some point. I mean, you say it, and you see it throughout the country, and you expect it, and then when you have to deal with it, it's a little bit different, obviously, and disappointing. The good thing is we've got great medical care. We'll take good care of our kids, and we'll move on once it's time to move on.
Got to feel like you've been relatively blessed so far for the most part. Some other teams have had it even worse than you guys have had. Got a little bit of work in over the course of time here, and what's the approach moving forward?
Well, I mean, we've got, we'll be down for a little bit. I think the biggest thing will be to see, obviously we'll continue testing and see how the results continue to come in. And we've got a little bit of a game plan from there going on. And then, I think a lot of it's just how the testing continues to go. And if it goes one way, we'll do one thing. If it goes another way, we'll have an alternative plan, and we're sort of at its mercy. So we'll just go ahead and adjust and move on and try to do the best we can.
With any players that aren't in the contact tracing or aren't positive, just to kind of clarify, like, can they go to the facility to work out on their own, or is everything's completely shut off?
One of the things and I think until you've experienced, you wouldn't think that, if even if you're a roommate, you get shut down. So and in basketball, numbers aren't that big. I mean, we've got 17 players, and so they were in quarantine. Some of the players that aren't in quarantine, depending upon the schedule, we'll be able to, and not for the first couple of days, we'll be able to do some individual stuff, provided we don't have any additional positives. But as of right now, no one's allowed in the facility.
How much do you worry about the guys' mental health just going through this? And I assume they'll have to be tested daily going forward too, and just kind of the stress and everything.
Yeah, that's the thing that worries me the most is the mental health part of it. Just because, but it's everybody. It's not just basketball players. I mean, everybody's uncertain right now. Everybody's a little jumpy. Everybody's a little little punch drunk, I would guess would be a good way to say it. And I think the players, it's a daily deal. I mean, they're getting tested every day. That's the good news, because they have, they know that they're getting tested and they have the opportunity to find out in it's very timely fashion, and we've got access to testing. But it is a bit of a grind. I mean, having to do it every day. But that's part of it. Guys want to play, and in order to play, that's what we have to do. That's what we'll do.
It's a little more long-term maybe, but just with the league, obviously there's multiple teams who are kind of going through this, and as the postponements kind of rise, what do you think about the conference tournament and that logistically happening, or can, that being the end goal? I mean, do you think that's possible, or how could that work?
Ronnie, here's what I've figured out in the last 3 months. I'm not speculating on anything. I mean, I'm gonna go after we're done with the Zoom. I'm gonna watch a little tape, and then wait for phone calls and see what happens, and we'll be prepared. But you can't tell day to day what's going to go on, and to worry about those type of deals. If they decide to have a conference tournament, we'll show up and play. And if it looks like a situation, I mean, my guess is the end goal of all this is to get to the NCAA tournament. So how do you preserve the opportunity to play in an NCAA tournament is probably the most prevalent thought process of, and I don't know where a conference tournament would come into that or not come into that. I think we're all right now just sort of, treading water and trying to make sure that we can, protect our programs and our kids. And then when you can play, you can play. And when you can't, adjust and try to help them.
You guys as a staff, how will y'all use this time? Do you just go back and kind of self-scout? Do you go ahead and look at Memphis recruiting? Is a little bit of everything? A
little bit of everything. I mean, we self-scout after all, but we've gone through some stuff, and we jokingly have talked about how many scatter reports have been cut up or ripped up and thrown away. But I mean, we'll look at some of our stuff. We have our tendencies down. I think we'll look at some additional stuff with obviously looking forward towards Memphis and all those type of deals. But I do think it's a lot of time to to start looking at, there will be some recruiting. I mean, even right now, recruiting is difficult because a lot of the kids aren't playing. So we'll still Zoom, we'll still talk to people, but a lot of time in figuring out and having a plan for when we are back on the court. There's going to be some basketball components of it, but there's also going to be some conditioning components of it. You can't have, guys sit out for a few days and then expect them to come back. And my biggest concern, with they talk about rescheduling is trying to jam these games in here. You go from playing 3 games in 30 something days, and then you look at 4 games in 8 days. I'm not worried about the COVID issue of that part. We're worried about the injury component. The NBA people are complaining about it already. They're, the guys, you can't simulate the speed of the game. And then you start going 4 games in 8 days, and guys haven't played in 15, 18 days. It's not fair to the kids.
Kind of going off that, Coach. I guess you guys may have to play a doubleheader at Wichita at some point, and then I guess maybe at Temple as a result of these things. Is that too a concern, having to play all those games and potentially being on the road that much at some point if it comes to that?
Yeah, I mean, they're all a concern. I understand that you have to try to get the league games in. There's no doubt. I mean, I don't know if that's ideal or not ideal. That's something that I didn't make a decision on those deals, but I mean, if you get, I know the intention of it is because you don't want people not showing up at road games because they're trying to get out of games. And now the flip side of that is when there's a concern. I mean, you give up a home game and have to play twice on the road. I mean, as a coach, that's not an ideal situation. I mean, I don't think there's a coach in the country that would, say that. Now, some of the smaller leagues have gone to where they're playing back to back on the road and then get 2 games at home. But our league isn't doing that, and it's not. Nothing right now is ideal. It's just going to be adjust and do what's in the best interest of the kids.
Do you think there's anything to this league, kind of the scope of it, the travel? Obviously, it's really spread out. Is that attributed to maybe what's going on with the league now compared to earlier, or what do you think?
Well, I don't know. You think about it with a lot of leagues, even power leagues, Power 5 leagues, where if you bus, can you get guys contact tracing on a bus? So you could lose some guys if someone tests positive. I don't think that. I don't know where it's coming with travel. There's probably a million different scenarios, and we've had one person test positive, and it would have been one of the last people I expected to. I mean, type of person that drives with a mask on his car by himself. I mean, just very, very, very safe. And I don't think there's a lot of rhyme or reason. I don't think anybody's figured it out. And I don't think the distance. I mean, there's a lot of leagues that are playing. There's a lot of, it's not just our league. It's a lot of leagues that are getting hit right now.
So you mentioned the conditioning component. That's probably going to affect the way you guys go about playing basketball, when you get back a little bit, huh?
It's tough. I mean, in order to play, you got to get in shape first. And I mean, you can, then the feel for the ball, to getting all those type of deals, it's just going to be different. And, it's the same as guys coming back from getting hurt, but usually you can do some things. For example, if a guy's got a sprained ankle, you can do some exercises, you can do some different things. You can shoot, you can shoot off a chair. Now it's going to be the cardio component and the basketball component. So that's a little bit different, but that happens, with injuries sometimes.
Do you anticipate that affecting the way you guys go about it? Less transition play and, a little bit more half court?
I think we'll see. I mean, it's going to see how long. I think a lot of it also depends on how long we're out.
Anything else, guys? Y'all good? All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys.